Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: what can Hong Kong gain in its Middle East forays? China Inc. hops into Middle East growth as region veers away from oil. Evergrande creditor group supports maintaining operations, not bankruptcy. SCMP. Look beyond the hardships of Hong Kongers in the UK. China's real estate slump shatters myth of ever-rising prices. What can Hong Kong gain in its Middle East forays? South China Morning Post. The Hong Kong government is aiming to tap into the wealthy Middle Eastern market in an effort to diversify the city's economy. After 3 years of pandemic restrictions and strained US-China relations, Hong Kong is looking for new business opportunities. However, there are challenges that local firms face in the Middle East, including a lack of strong cultural links and knowledge of the region, as well as the unpredictability of the conflict between Israel and Gaza. Hong Kong companies have started signing partnership agreements with Middle Eastern companies, particularly in the technology industry. However, they lack on-the-ground support and face difficulties in initiating meetings with potential partners and government officials. China Inc. hops into Middle East growth as region veers away from oil. South China Morning Post. Chinese startups are increasingly eyeing the Middle East as a potential market for expansion. The region presents an attractive alternative as it seeks to develop tech-driven startup ecosystems and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Trade between the Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) and China has surpassed trade with the US and Euro area combined, and there is an estimated untapped trade potential of $178 billion between China and the Middle East and North Africa (MENA) region. The recent wave of investments in the region has focused on developing products that have the potential to benefit humanity and foster a better, more sustainable way of living through technological advancements. These investments align with the Middle East's commitment to renewable energy and reducing dependence on oil. Chinese companies such as Fourier Intelligence and WeRide have successfully invested in the region and have aligned their business models with the needs of Middle Eastern countries. Evergrande creditor group supports maintaining operations, not bankruptcy. SCMP. Yahoo! A major offshore creditor group of China, Evergrande Group, has issued a statement supporting the continuation of the developer's operations and opposing liquidation. The group, which owns around $2 billion worth of offshore notes backed by Evergrande, has urged that the company's flagship onshore unit, Hengda Real Estate, be allowed to maintain operations. The group argued that no stakeholders of Hengda, be it customers, suppliers, creditors, or the Chinese government, would benefit from forcing Hengda into a multi-year, value-destructive bankruptcy process. Look beyond the hardships of Hong Kongers in the UK. SCMP opinion. A recent survey conducted by the Welcoming Committee for Hong Kongers and British Future revealed that many new arrivals from Hong Kong are facing challenges in the UK. Despite their high levels of education, nearly half of the respondents had not secured a job, and of those who were working, many felt that their job did not match their skills and experience. Language barriers and financial instability were identified as major obstacles for these individuals. However, despite the hardships they face, the majority of respondents expressed a desire to stay permanently in the UK. The author suggests that, like previous generations of Chinese immigrants, these individuals have a strong resilience and determination to overcome challenges and succeed in their new home. China's real estate slump shatters myth of ever-rising prices. Nikkei Asia. China's real estate industry, which makes up around 30% of the country's GDP, is facing a severe crisis, with a long-term slump casting a shadow on the economy. The market for new condominiums in particular is struggling, with prices being significantly reduced in some areas. However, local governments are limiting the freedom of real estate agents to cut prices further due to concerns over unfairness and the impact on local government finances. The Chinese Communist Party has acknowledged the significant change in the supply-demand relationship but has not yet come up with effective solutions to eliminate distortions in the real estate market. The government has previously tightened financing for developers and reduced mortgage availability, which has led to a decline in sales and a record 19 consecutive months of falling average prices for newly built condominiums. While some cities are trying to encourage people to move in, the overall outlook for the real estate market in China remains uncertain. Visiting football legend Gullit stunned by amount of exercise Hong Kong kids get. South China Morning Post. Dutch football legend Ruud Gullit has stressed the importance of involving Hong Kong youngsters in sport for their mental and physical health, as well as their ability to form relationships following the COVID-19 pandemic. Gullit made the comments during a visit to Tuen Mun as a member of the Laureus Academy. He highlighted the need for sports facilities in the city, stating that in the Netherlands, sports facilities are built within 1 to 2 kilometers of new projects. Gullit was in Hong Kong as part of the Laureus Model City Hong Kong initiative, which aims to combat mental health challenges among young people through sport. A case is building for battered China stocks to beat India peers. Bloomberg. Strategists are suggesting that the roles of Indian and Chinese equities may reverse in the short term as valuations become more extreme. The MSCI China Index is trading at 9.3x its 12-month forward earnings, less than half the level for the MSCI India Index, which hit a record this week. The last time the valuation gap was this wide, Chinese equities outperformed their South Asian rivals over the following months. Despite this, global pension and sovereign wealth managers are flocking to India while becoming more hesitant on China. Hong Kong has no room for public housing abuse. SCMP opinion. The Hong Kong government has uncovered nearly 60 households living in public housing who also own private properties, following a crackdown on abuse of the system. The Housing Authority tightened its regulations, requiring tenants to make declarations and give consent for data cross-checking across departments. The initial findings are believed to only show the tip of the iceberg, with a further 719,000 households set to be checked by late 2025. Authorities have vowed to terminate the tenancy of those who abused or refused to declare. Relationship between China and U.S. rests on people exchanges. SCMP opinion. China and the United States must prioritize people-to-people exchanges in order to maintain and improve their bilateral relationship, according to U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. The recent summit between President Xi Jinping and Joe Biden focused on reaching agreements on specific issues, but the revival of vibrant people exchanges will underpin the recovery of bilateral relations and help prevent setbacks. People-to-people exchanges have been a casualty of the deterioration of relations, with fewer Americans coming to China and Chinese students in the U.S. Restoring engagement at all levels will pave the way for real improvement in the wider relationship. Louis Vuitton doubles down on Chinese consumers. Wall Street Journal. Luxury brand Louis Vuitton staged its first-ever show in Hong Kong this week, with the event reflecting the brand's commitment to drawing Chinese customers and its confidence in the world's largest luxury goods market. The show, which was held on the city's promenade, saw models wearing sailor uniforms and surfer wetsuits, with music being provided by Pharrell Williams, the brand's menswear creative director. Luxury brands are increasingly targeting Chinese consumers, with the potential to reach China's ultra-high-net-worth customers outweighing any risks posed by the country's political tensions with the West. Earlier this week, Dior announced that it would be holding a menswear show in Hong Kong next year. The show itself was a clear declaration of love from Louis Vuitton to Chinese consumers, with Chinese influencers such as Gong Jun and Bai Jingting in the front row. In the first 3 quarters of this year, 32% of LVMH sales came from Asia excluding Japan, the majority of which came from China. Evergrande negotiating 11th-hour restructuring deal to avoid liquidation. Wall Street Journal. Chinese property giant Evergrande and a group of its bondholders are in negotiations to restructure the company after Chinese regulators rejected their previous plan, according to sources. Evergrande has proposed giving control of around 20% of its parent company, China Evergrande Group, to its creditors, while not issuing new debt as part of the restructuring. However, offshore creditors have put forward a counter-proposal that would give them more control over Evergrande's offshore businesses. A court hearing on Evergrande's liquidation is scheduled in Hong Kong for Monday. Evergrande owes money to thousands of suppliers and is on the hook to deliver hundreds of thousands of unfinished homes. Fintech Ualá launches first no-fee credit card in Argentina. Bloomberg. Argentina-based fintech firm Ualá is to introduce a no-fee credit card to its 5 million customers in the country. The firm, backed by Steve Cohen, George Soros and Tencent Holdings, will gradually introduce the product to users. The company has already launched a similar product in Mexico. Argentina has among the highest interest rates in the world, but 60% of Argentines do not have a credit card, according to central bank data. Ualá CEO Pier Paolo Barbieri said he expected millions of registrations for the card in Argentina. It's 6 kilometers from the city and has 3 train lines. But maximizing housing in this Sydney suburb is impossible. The Sydney Morning Herald. The suburb of Sydenham in Sydney could be a prime location for housing development, thanks to its excellent transport links and underutilized infrastructure. The area is just 6 kilometers from the city and is a junction for 3 train lines, making it one of the best connected locations in the city. However, there are obstacles to development in the area. The Marrickville side of the station is zoned as industrial land, and the area itself is under the flight path, which places restrictions on the height of any new buildings. The government has previously abandoned plans to build 35,000 homes along the forthcoming metro line in the area due to political pressure and community opposition. However, there is still potential for development in the area, although density will be limited by the flight paths. Reforms announced by the state government will allow for terraces, townhouses, and low-rise apartment buildings to be built in R2 low-density residential zones near the station. Zero evidence Ohio pneumonia outbreak is linked to China. The Independent. Health officials have said there is zero evidence that a pediatric pneumonia outbreak in Ohio is linked to China. Since August, Warren County in Ohio has recorded 142 cases of pediatric pneumonia, some of which are cases of Mycoplasma pneumonia, the illness responsible for recent outbreaks among children in China and Denmark. However, health officials have insisted that the outbreak in Ohio is not linked to any viruses circulating in China. They have described the outbreak as typical seasonal bacterial and viral activity. Greater Bay Area, think tank's Common Market Plan cites EU as instructive. South China Morning Post. China should follow the example of the European Union in transforming the Greater Bay Area into a common market, according to a proposal from the Guangzhou Institute of the Greater Bay Area. The proposal suggests aligning rules and standards within the region to facilitate the free flow of people and goods, as well as implementing a personnel mobility system to attract scientific and technological talent. The report also calls for the reduction of institutional barriers and the use of digital yuan cross-border payments to explore applications in various sectors. Friends, viewers, and fellow inhabitants of the 6 Degrees world, I am Dr. Six, your trusty observer and purveyor of news from around the globe. It's been an eventful week, filled with stories of business ventures, real estate slumps, sports legends, and more. So, let's dive right in and explore the highlights. First up, we have Hong Kong's forays into the Middle East. The Hong Kong government is looking to diversify its economy by tapping into the wealthy Middle Eastern market. However, local firms face challenges such as a lack of cultural links and knowledge of the region, as well as the unpredictability of the conflict between Israel and Gaza. Nonetheless, Hong Kong companies have started signing partnership agreements with Middle Eastern counterparts, particularly in the technology industry. On the other hand, Chinese startups are also eyeing the Middle East as a potential market for expansion, given the region's focus on tech-driven startups and reducing reliance on fossil fuels. Speaking of China, its real estate industry is facing a severe crisis, with a long-term slump casting a shadow on the economy. The market for new condominiums is struggling, and local governments are limiting further price cuts due to concerns over unfairness and impact on local government finances. The Chinese Communist Party has yet to come up with effective solutions to eliminate distortions in the real estate market. However, some cities are trying to encourage people to move in, but the overall outlook remains uncertain. In other news, Dutch football legend Ruud Gullit highlighted the importance of involving Hong Kong youngsters in sports for their mental and physical health, as well as their ability to form relationships following the pandemic. Gullit's comments came during a visit to Tuen Mun as part of the Laureus Academy's initiative to combat mental health challenges among young people through sport. Meanwhile, luxury brand Louis Vuitton staged its first-ever show in Hong Kong, reflecting its commitment to drawing Chinese customers and its confidence in the world's largest luxury goods market. Moving on to finance, Chinese property giant Evergrande is negotiating an 11th-hour restructuring deal to avoid liquidation. The company has proposed giving control of a portion of its parent company to its creditors, while offshore creditors have put forward a counterproposal for more control over Evergrande's offshore businesses. And in Argentina, fintech firm Uala is introducing a no-fee credit card to its customers, aiming to address the country's high interest rates and the fact that 60% of Argentines do not have a credit card. Now, let's turn our attention to Sydney, where the suburb of Sydenham could be a prime location for housing development due to its excellent transport links. However, obstacles such as zoning restrictions and flight paths have limited development in the area. Despite this, there is still potential for development, with recent reforms allowing for the construction of terraces, townhouses, and low-rise apartment buildings near the train station. Lastly, health officials in Ohio have stated that there is zero evidence linking a pediatric pneumonia outbreak in the state to China. The outbreak has been attributed to typical seasonal bacterial and viral activity. So, my dear viewers, we've covered a range of topics from Hong Kong's Middle East ventures to the real estate slump in China, from football legends advocating for sports in Hong Kong to luxury brands targeting Chinese consumers. It's been a whirlwind of news, and now it's your turn to join the discussion. What are your thoughts on Hong Kong's attempts to diversify its economy? Do you think China's real estate market will recover? And how important are people-to-people exchanges in improving Sino-US relations? Let me know your thoughts and questions, and until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of 6 degrees. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.